What is up, everybody? It's your boy Young Fizz, aka mr.dopestatus on Instagram, and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be looking at how I manipulate a drum loop inside of the machine. So if you haven't already, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on that bell notification so whenever I drop a new video, you will be the first person to be notified. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video, which is how I manipulate a drum loop inside of the machine. All right, so the first thing that I want to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and find me a drum loop, and I'm going to go ahead and look in my iTunes here. And I think I like this one here from Michael Jackson. So let's go ahead and drag this in right here on sound slot number 1. The first thing that I want to do to get ready for the sample is I want to make sure the polyphony here is on 1. And that's going to be under the voice settings / engine here. The next thing I want to do is go to the pitch / envelope and make sure this is changed to ADSR. And that is looking good here. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to S on the keyboard. And I'm just going to truncate my sample because when I play it, I don't want all this playing. I just want just a certain part, which is going to be this drum sample in the beginning. And I don't know how much I need, so I'm just going to truncate it right here for now. And then we're going to set our start points and set our end points here. So let's go ahead and set the start point first. And I think that is good right around there. All right, and then we're going to set our endpoint, which is going to be right before that next hit here. So let's go ahead and zoom in just so we can get some finer details. All right, so like right around, maybe right around there. And then look at the end again. And we want it hitting right before that next hit here. Ending right here. Let's go ahead and truncate that and let's play it. All right, so now we have that there. So now your sampling window may look a little bit different. That's because I've already pressed this icon right here. What this icon does, it allows you to change from mono to stereo, but it's only for viewing purposes. It doesn't work with audio. So it's only for viewing what's on your display here. So if I change that to this one here, it's going to be mono view. And then this is like a stereo view. So right now we're going to keep it to mono. And the next thing we want to go ahead and do is we want to go ahead and get some information about the sample. We know that this sample is not at 120, which is indicated up here. It's not 120. And so in order to find the tempo of our sample, what we want to do is come down here to stretch and click on this icon here. Now it's saying that our source BPM is 77 and our new BPM is 120. All right, so let's go ahead and test that theory. So let me go ahead and change this to 77 up here. And then I'm going to go to my other window here. And I know it's a 2-bar loop, so I'm just going to set this to 2 bars. All right, get that out the way. All right, and that's looking good there. So it's at 77. So let's go ahead and put against the metronome. Let's make sure it says it's at 77. All right, perfect chop. Okay, so the next thing I want to go ahead and do is that let me go ahead and go to my S again on my keyboard and let's go to slice. Another thing that you can do to manipulate these sounds is slice. And I showed this in another video, but I do want to show it again on this particular video here, is that with slice, you could basically chop the samples the way you want to. You have 4 different modes. You have detect, split, grid, and then manual. But right now we're going to go ahead and go to detect, and then we can change the sensitivity, or we can change whatever we want. But let's go ahead and just play what we have now. So say, for example, I want to click this sample here. I can click the sample and drag it and call it kick here. That's the snare. I can change it here and I can just grab that snare right there. So now I have a kick and I can rename this, do Command R, call this kick, and then call this snare. So now if I exit out, I can make a whole new beat right from the screen right here. So let me go back to that here and I'm gonna go ahead and delete this here, reset this, Don't need that. We're gonna be focusing on the sound slot number 1. Another thing that we can do is go to the grid mode. So now it's gonna divide up into equal slices here, depending on how we set our slices. So we can do a quarter, we can do eighth, we can do 16th. Typically I do quarter, Another thing that we can do, we can click and hold this icon here and drag it to sound slot number 2. I'm now in my notes editor view, and now I can see the sample, how it's already dragged on the grid here. So those are all my individual slices. Okay, so now let's say, for example, that I want to time stretch this to 86 BPM. So the first thing that we want to do is go ahead and set our global BPMs up here to 86. And then I'm going to go down to stretch down here. Now it says source BPM is 77. And then the new BPM is 86. And then I'm just going to hit apply. All right. So now when I come back here, go back to my 2-bar loop, it should be at 86. All right, now that sounded good. Now you might be asking, okay, so why don't you just use the other sampler, which I perfectly can. But the reason why I like using this sampler here, because it gives me a little bit more control over what I'm doing in my slices here. So let's just say, for example, that I want to manipulate this sample here. Well, what I can do, I can go ahead and add some effects here. I can add a compressor on board. I can add some drive. Make it sound dirty by changing the sample rate. Or I can change the bits. To make it sound dirty. Now notice how the sample just kind of, it's like a lot of just, it's kind of messy. So I can add a gate here to clean that up a little bit. So I'm gonna go internal gate, switch to my other window so I can see what I'm working with here. And then now I'm just going to drag this down the threshold here to where it's barely kind of peeking through. Change the hold, change the release. Lighten up the release just a little bit. So now I can really fine tune and adjust the sample the way that I really like it. And so that's why I like using this sampler here inside of Maschine. Although the other one is a lot easier to time stretch, and I show you how to do that in another video, and I'll leave the links down in the description below. So anyhow, if you found some value from this video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on the bell notifications. It's your boy Young Fizz, and we will see you on the next tutorial. Thank you for watching. We out.